Hey everybody, it's me, Diogen Z, and it's time to play Pokemon Conquest. Today we're taking on Nobunaga's Army for the first time, and we're pinpointing Yaksha, the Dark Kingdom. They are all Dark-type users for the most part, except for that Zubat Haver there. So be sure to bring some fighting types along with you, and leave the Psychics behind. Not only are they weak to Dark types, but they have no effect with their Psychic-type attacks. Let us go forth and take on the kingdom of Yaksha.
Ha! So you're Diogen Z. Powerful enough to stand along Shingen and Kenshin, so they say. It will make it all the more satisfying to destroy you.
What?
Diogen Z. You may be the source of great chaos in Ransei, but you are just a source of entertainment for me.
So, he doesn't take our strength seriously, I see. Well, I suppose he wouldn't, since his strength level dwarfs ours by a little bit. But we'll show him what we're made of! Strong, determined fighters who run their armies by strategy! Your foolish power alone will not bring you victory, I'm afraid. We're more than just some minor chaos in the Ransei region. We're what's gonna take you down! So in the battle for Yaksha, you don't really have, of course, any advantages, being that, well, no one really does, first entering into a warlord's territory. The maps are designed mainly for them. And how this place works is that the Zubat can easily fly around to wherever your fighting Pokemon are and use a wing attack so that the Dark types that wreak havoc, like Zoroark on Kotaro's side, they will have no troubles shredding through the rest of your team that is not fighting type. So it would be a wise move to bring a fast Lightning Strike Electric type Pokemon to this match to take out that Zubat nice and fast. Thankfully, since we swapped out Oichi's Pokemon for Larvitar at the moment, and not really do I ever plan to go back to Jigglypuff, we have Rocks on our side. Not to mention Flaffy for some extra boost power. I'm still maining my Eevee because I do plan to take it on further journeys. But for now, I don't want to risk my main attacking force power of Girder, so we're just gonna hit the strike. Oh man, I was hoping that Heat Crash would do more damage. It always did more damage to me when I was hit by Yukimura's Heat Crash and his Pignite, but that's fine. You can easily be undone in this battle, so you have to be careful. Make sure you save beforehand, but you can easily be undone by that Zubat. Right now, Girder is my most powerful striker, and without his force, we're going to bait that Zubat to come over here, and if he does, Flaffy will come in and shock his ass. Alright, go for Pignite. I have boosted defense specifically for that reason. Know when to use your warrior skill. Ah, but that thing. That freaking Scragglicious Zuruzukin. Otherwise more commonly known as, in English-speaking areas, Scrafty. That thing is the biggest pain. I think it's almost more annoying than that Zoroark. Zoroark definitely is a pain in your side. Good. Let's stall that Zubat as much as we can. Get it out of here! But once you defeat Zoroark, and I don't even feel as though it's the strongest opponent on this armies, I really, really caution you to look out for that high jump kick. It will take out your opponent. It will take out your Pokemon, and your opponent will get the upper hand in no time. But now that we don't have to worry about Zubat, that nice random change of events, that's what keeps this map always fresh and different whenever you come to face this warlord or any other opposing army, is the randomization present box that pops up. So this is why I waited on this side and let my opponent come to me. If you can't already see, we've got a nice strategy going, filing down Kotaro's team down these 2 columns in between the ponds, because now the biggest threat to your team being that Scrafty jumping all over the place and smacking around your players like they're nothing, because that's really where the significant power comes from on Kotaro's team. Now that he's trapped and he can't go back 1 space to launch his high jump kick, he's at the disposal of my fighting type team and how much damage they'll be doing to him without any resistance. Okay, that Zubat came back out faster than I thought. Usually, if it's not a flying type Pokemon, it has to burrow underground, and that takes a whole turn. But instead, he just hopped right out. He's like, nope, I'm jumping the fence. I'm Zubat, bitches. I can fly. Doesn't matter if his range is diminished. This is probably the best strategy that I have found after doing this battle a couple of times. Not on this particular game save, but from having played the Japanese version of this and having to face Kotaro before, I can tell you this is the simplest way to make sure that your team is protected and that you'll be dealing the most damage possible on Nobunaga's army. See, they have nothing to do. Most of his team can't even attack you at this point. The only thing that he really has an advantage on this field for is the fact that his Zubat can get around pretty handily without having to do much but fly over some stream body of water, and then bam, his wing attack destroys your team. And that's really the big threat in this. Of course, that present box, it's working out well for us now, but there have been times where it's really betrayed my team. It does not have any preference for any team. It's completely randomized, so I can tell you from experience, it will decide when it feels like it wants to attack your team. It's going to be random, and hopefully it helps you, but if it doesn't, that's why I recommend saving, because a good strategy can sometimes be undone by randomness, and you know what? If you have the option to save and restart, you might as well. You're going to have to take on a whole new start of circumstances, and if it happens again, if you get affected by the present, then maybe go back and train some more, because you'll know your strategy wasn't enough to keep you out of harm's way of all these dark types. Because if you're solely depending on one luck-based situation to happen, that's rarely a good strategy. And you can notice I'm trying to keep all my fighting team far, far away from that Zubat. Hopefully it stays entertained with Flaffy and doesn't want to come over to the further side. What I've noticed about the enemy's AI is that it will go for the Pokemon that's nearest to it, even if it doesn't have a super advantage. Zubat obviously would be more super effective attacking a Timburr or going after my Girder. I guess the only way that it's different is if it's not very effective, which, as we all know, flying types are not very effective on electric types, so we will disrupt his little dodge there anyway. Try to run away from me, will you? Ha ha ha. Now you have even less of a range chance to try and attack my fighting type. No chance at all! So if the enemy is attacking the Pokemon closest to it, oh, and that's beautiful, look at that. We get to go twice because Eevee gave such a spectacular assist. Well, that's good stuff. But if the Pokemon nearest to your opponent is not very affected, then they'll try to move on to other members of your team. But keep on keeping on with the column strategy. The only way that it's disrupted is by the present randomizer. And guess what? It's very dangerous. I want to finish this now. This is why I saved my Mighty Blow for Scrafty and not for Zoroark like you might think I would, being that that's the Warlord's best linked Pokemon. Maybe it's best linked for Kotaro, but the rest of his army actually dwarfs his own power just having that Scrafty. Hold on, Eevee! Oh, there was no chance. At least it only takes one more attack and this thing is doomed. No way will it be able to sustain one more Heat Crash. Oh yeah. had to get a critical hit, didn't you? But if that Scrafty gets scooped up by the present randomizer, you're almost guaranteed to be a little more screwed than you are now. We're lucky that we got it to be filed down this path so handily. Sometimes it will go around the outside of the ponds and try to come around and attack you that way. The best method for keeping it in these columns is by keeping your team near the central pond. So even if they're not in one of the columns, keep them in and around the center pond of all three. This way, your opponent has to come into the center to attack you. And the quickest route, ideally, would be going down a straight line to the center where all my team is. But the problem for them is that their inferior dark type moves against my fighting types doesn't really help them whatsoever. We might as well boost our defenses. We've only got a couple more of Kotaro's teammates to take out, but I think we're in the clear. So that's really the most advantageous strategy for taking on this battlefield. It really depends on knowing your enemy, knowing what kind of tricks they'll pull, knowing who the strongest power level is. Surprisingly, it's not Kotaro. It's really that Scrafty that you have to worry about. The Zoroark, it can be dangerous if you let it get into a wide open space, because then with its Shadow Pulse or whatever it did there, it is able to hit up to 4 Pokemon that are surrounding it, if it's in the square space. But if you handle it quickly, if you knock it out with a fighting type fast, you'll most likely win. But do try to beware of that Zubat. That's why I brought along Flaffy, specifically to take out that one Zubat. It's nice that Conquest allows you to not only face your opponent as many times as you need to, there's no limit, there's no point at which they say, "Oh, nice, double strike." There's no point at which they say, "Ah, you're too weak to face me, never come back here again." So that's good. But also, before you get into the match with your opponent, you get to see their entire team, which is very handy in knowing what you have to bring along. Because sometimes you really need the specializer Pokemon to take something out that maybe the fighting types have no effect on. And that's really the intention with Zubat. It's kind of the fighting type disruptor, so it keeps your team versatile and makes sure that you're not resting on your laurels as a warlord, and that you're having a varied army. They don't want you to just sit around with one type and monotype it all the way, although that would be really interesting to see a monotype run of Pokemon Conquest. I don't even know if it could be done. I'm thinking no, because you have to start out with normal types, and then the first types you can recruit would be fire types. I guess you could keep on using Bidoof. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see if that could happen. At some point, I think you'd need to switch. Well, no, that's the idea. As a monotype, you don't switch. Huh. That's interesting. Very interesting concept for someone to take on if they ever give it a try. Let me know how it works out for them. But that's how you take out Kotaro's team and claim Yaksha.
Ha! If only for a moment you kept me entertained. Your impending battle with Nobunaga, the thought of it excites me more than I expected. Farewell.
That sounds pretty ominous. I guess Nobunaga's army is full of people like him. Yeah. Full of people that want nothing more than to see exciting destruction if it means entertainment for them, even of their own Ransei region. Wait! Something's changed! You're right, Lord Diogen Z has transformed! I knew it! You changed your clothes. Well, that's good news. Here, let me give you a little something. Oh, a little something? Kiji, you are modest. That is a lot of something. And I tell you what, in the next episode, I'm tired of running around with a normal type Eevee. In the next episode, we'll figure out what exactly we want to evolve Eevee into, and see how the stone affects our linkage. Oh, well, thank you for saying I look impressive. I don't think you'll be needing any more advice from me. In fact, I'd better be off. See you around. The Traveling Warrior Kiji. one of these days I find Wi-Fi, I'm going to have to download his mission to get some more of his backstory. But for next time, we'll be taking on more training.